Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, continuing my review of movies that I deem 10 out of 10, and in this edition we will focus on a breathtaking and beautiful martial arts epic, House of Flying Daggers. Released wide on international release in December 2004, it stars Zhang Ziyi, Andy Lau and Takeshi Kishiro, and it was directed by acclaimed filmmaker Zhang Yimou. Now, the story within House of Flying Daggers is that we are set up in the historical era of 859 AD within China concerning the Tang Dynasty, and that after years of dominant rule, they are now suffering a sharp decline. This is due to several rebellious groups putting up resistance against them. The most prominent of these groups are known as the House of Flying Daggers, whose objective is to overthrow rich governments and give money and support to the poorer regions. The Flying Daggers, as per their name, are very distinctive for being able to throw and manipulate deadly daggers with deadly accuracy against their enemies. Now, two police officers of the Tang Dynasty, Liao and Jin, are assigned with the task to find the main leader of the Daggers group. During their investigation, they find Mei, a blind showgirl dancer who they believe is the daughter of the leader of the Daggers. After discovering Mei's amazing fighting ability, the two officers set up a plan to trick Mei into leading them into the location of the Daggers. As the story progresses, we see multiple twists and turns in terms of the characters' methods and motivations. They are all forced to confront their feelings and decide what it is they're fighting for and what is most important to them. Now, when I look at the House of the Flying Daggers, I firmly believe that we are looking at one of the most stunningly beautiful films ever made. It's an incredible, immersive martial arts movie with dazzling cinematography full of imagination, excitement and emotional resonance. There are truly exceptional sequences in terms of fight choreography that have real dramatic weight, and action scenes that are full of both poetic beauty and striking violence. While there is lots of violence, it's not exactly graphic or gratuitous. The movie is truly a luscious feast for the eyes, truly hypnotising with its imagery and energy. Many times feels more like a collage or a painting of sorts that's constantly flowing and merging and changing and transforming. It truly is an outstanding entry within the so-called wuxia martial arts genre that had been brought forward to mainstream prominence with Ang Lee's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in 2000. Director Zhang Yimou found commercial success with his epic Hero in 2002, which was also praised for its imagery and its cinematography. Now, while both of those movies have great merits about them, for me, House of Flying Daggers is superior. It matches them both visually but also has more heart and characterization, and director Simel really masterfully merges all of these elements in terms of beauty and intensity to amazing effect. Now, despite a lot of the romanticism, the movie itself is very much full of action in the first hour. It never loses sense of its story, and whilst many other directors would have become completely consumed in showcasing all of the beautiful sequences on screen, I think the director manages to keep a foothold on the main plot and narrative, and this approach really helps retain a sense of wonder that we get throughout this film in so many outstanding scenes. Amongst these include the echo dance performed by Mei at the beginning of the movie. It's truly a balletic and mesmerising sequence. The first very big action sequence throughout the film, when Mei is pursued by multiple soldiers riding on horseback, fighting them off all single-handedly. It's so fantastic. We get multiple cross cuts and angles of her throwing various punches and kicks and repelling all of the spear attacks that we see on here. It really is exciting and intense to watch. We have another great sequence where Mei and Jin find themselves surrounded and we see the use of the flying daggers for the first time. I love how they were visualized through the CGI, which I think worked for the most part throughout this film. There's only really one or two moments that are maybe out of touch with the rest of the film, but I don't think it's too distracting in terms of the overall experience. And then of course we come to the standout sequence that many fans and critics associate this film so much, and that is the incredible sequence where Mei and Jin find themselves being assaulted by soldiers amongst a stunning green pristine bamboo forest, having hundreds of bamboo shoots being thrown at them. We have multiple sequences where we see lots of soldiers climbing and swinging and leaping across the forest. It reminds me so much of the classic anime Ninja Scroll, and it really is true brother filmmaking, only using CGI sparingly. Now, some people may criticise the sense of physics in terms of how certain people or individuals move, how they run in certain formations, how they attack with holding swords in certain positions, in terms of how the daggers move through the air. But I honestly think the visual impact of this film is such that you don't really care as much. You're just so immersed in the overall beauty and the cinematic experience of this film. You don't really spend your time nitpicking on how certain objects move through the air or through the ground. For me, the final climax within this film is simply one of the best finales of a film that I've ever seen. It's so audacious and outlandish, yet it's so vivid and compelling and really leaves such a heartfelt impact. It's a conclusion that I feel so many directors would have been too scared to attempt in terms of the shift, in terms of the overall aesthetic of the film, and it really is one of the best final jewels that I've seen within all of film. Now, for all of the aesthetic beauty of this film, we also have to mention the three central performances from the lead actors within the role. We first talk about Shang Si-hee in the lead role as Mei. She captures so well both the inner strength and vulnerability. She actually spent a couple of months with a blind girl in preparation for this role, and she plays it to perfection. She's stunningly beautiful, awesome within the fight scenes, and she's very much an embodiment of the whole movie itself. Takeshi Kanshiro is also great as Jin. He's very much more of a cocky, self-confident personality. He doesn't think too much of Mei to begin with, but later on develops strong feelings for her throughout the story. He overall has a good dynamic between the two characters, and overall I think the film does a good enough job in establishing the sound relationship between the two that we firmly believe that they do actually have a lot of deep feelings for one another. Andy Lau is also good as Leo, and he's far more of a regimented, far more of a passionate character, very much dedicated to the purpose and task to uncover the Flying Daggers and what they are about. And as the story progresses, we get various developments and revelations concerning all three characters, and these are good enough to keep the plot engaging when it settles down from the amazing and visual spectacle and action, really much more in the second half of the movie. It's not necessarily a slow burn, but I think the director chose this approach very well, just to kind of settle down and get us far more interested in the overall characters. Now, some may feel that we should have expanded a lot more on the Flying Daggers organisation themselves, and maybe expanded a lot more in terms of the politicising within other factions concerning the Tang Dynasty, and certainly I feel that would have added much in terms of world building. I really feel had we gone that direction, it would have cluttered this film too much. I think the film works because it keeps a central focus on the characters, and whilst it may feel smaller in scale, I think that allows for much more intimacy and much more emotional weight involved. I think had we gone too far, it probably would have required another hour, and therefore may have led to further lapse in terms of the pacing and the intensity throughout the movie. I also mentioned, of course, with all great films, the musical score, and it's fantastic overall. I very much love the central theme that is centered around a song that we see at the beginning of the movie concerning Mei and her dancing, and it's played all the way through towards the overall final act, and it's fantastic. And I mentioned before, it really brings about a sense of tragedy and emotional weight throughout this film. So as with usual with all these films, the score for this movie is 10 out of 10. So we look at the overall release of the film, and on a budget of 12 million, it managed to gross over 92.9 million worldwide. So it was very successful, just like the previous efforts of Hero and Crouching Tiger as well. Now, it wasn't quite as successful, I believe, as those movies. I don't think it quite got the same level of promotion, and I think being released early December, it didn't have as much chance, I feel, to branch out to mainstream audiences as both Hero and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon did. But despite that, it got, for the most part, very positive and critical acclaim, praising the film rightly so for its visuals, cinematography and great performances, in particular from the lead actress Shang Si-hee as well, and they very much commented on how well she looks and she performs throughout the film. And I just think it was a real peak time in terms of this type of martial arts wushu or wuxia genre that we were seeing very much so. Zhang Yimou's next movie, Curse of the Golden Flower, didn't quite connect with audiences and critics as well as Hero or House of Flying Daggers. Overall, I still believe House of Flying Daggers truly is a stunning epic. Whilst we have intense moments of action and spectacle, it's the beauty of the film, it's the beauty aesthetically of how it looks in terms of its contrast and its composition and its imagery, very much mirrored by three extremely powerful and charismatic lead performances. House of Flying Daggers is indeed a true great masterpiece, one of the greatest martial arts epics I've ever seen, one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen with all of cinema, and that's why I rate House of Flying Daggers 10 out of 10. So those are my thoughts and feelings and review of House of Flying Daggers. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How do you feel it compares against the likes of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon and also Hero as well? Do you think it's superior or do you think it's weaker? Do you feel the more romantic subplot worked against it? Would you have liked an expansion in terms of the more bigger groups surrounding the main plot? Or do you feel it was right that it focused much more of the characters and this allowed it to have far more weight and drama throughout the film itself? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please also hit and like those subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very soon.